Sometimes that's on people's minds. They're afraid to ask those questions. Believe me, folks, if it wasn't safe, I wouldn't be going up and down all day either.
Yeah, right.
So the Jasper Skytram also wishes to acknowledge that we are on traditional indigenous grounds. They have been used for centuries for a variety of different things, including hunting, as gathering places, and also as routes through the mountains themselves. So the Jasper Skytram is what's known as a switchback or a counterbalance system. Now it's often referred to as a reversible tramway. We do only have two cars on the system. One car goes up, the other car comes down. Now we are permanently attached to each other, so one car cannot leave without the other. So as we leave this lower terminal on this side of the building heading up the mountain, the other cars leaving the upper terminal on the other side of the building heading down the mountain. When we arrive at the top, they arrive at the bottom. Very much like an old-fashioned clothesline or like a seesaw or teeter-totter, one car up, the other car down. We are not like a gondola system. We don't have the many cars that go round and round. We just have the two cars that go back and forth from terminal to terminal. Having said that, we're a little bit more energy efficient because when we stop, our motors stop. Whereas on a gondola system, their cables are constantly going around, constantly using electricity. So one of the very first things we can see, if you look to the right of the back window, you'll see the town of Jasper coming into view. It is in the valley floor. Its elevation is about 1,100 meters. The permanent population in Jasper, just over 5,000 people. Jasper also has what's known as a ghost population. Now that can be as much as 1,500 people, and it makes up the seasonal workers that you'll see at a variety of places around town. Oh, wow. That's why you hear a variety of different accents, including at this facility here. Now we are right in the middle of our summer, folks. There can be as much as 20 to 25,000 people in and around the immediate area on any given day. So when we left the lower terminal, we were at an elevation about 1,300 meters. That's about 200 meters above the valley floor. When we arrive at the top, we'll be at 2,300 meters. That's about 200 meters below the summit. That's a 1 kilometer, 1,000 meter vertical lift, and the track that we follow is about 2.2 kilometers in length, and our total time up the mountain from the bottom to the top is about 7 minutes. Now, is everybody okay with meters? Would anyone like that in feet? I do speak both languages, folks. Feet and meters. Now, everyone's good? You just have to multiply it by 3 if you need to. So we're soon going to come up to and pass around our single support tower. It's about 2/5 of the way up the mountain. It's 20 meters tall. As we pass around it, we actually change the angle going up the mountain. We are on a pivot above us. The car sways a little bit from front to back. It's kind of like being on a big swing, folks, but just watch you don't lose your balance. So here we go here. There's the push. And that's the release. And that's about as close as we get to a roller coaster, folks. Now, if you look off to my immediate left, you'll see the other set of cables. If you follow them up the mountain and behind me, you'll now see our other car coming down. Of course, we are going to pass it at exactly halfway. Our traveling speed today is 7 meters per second. That's about 25 kilometers an hour. So when we pass it, it's like passing a car on the highway. You add the two speeds together. So we're going to pass it at a relative speed of about 50 kilometers an hour. Now, it does go by quite quickly. I'd like to give them a little wave as they go by. Not paying any attention to us at all, folks. So unfortunately, to the west, we're getting a little bit of a front coming through. It looks like it's going to go by us. It was right in the center of the valley. It's now heading a little bit north. Don't get a good view, so I'm going to concentrate on the valley, which is to the right of the back window here. So that meandering milky green color is the river is the Athabasca River. Now it derives itself from the Columbia ice fields about 100 kilometers south of us and will eventually flow into the Arctic Ocean via the Mackenzie River system. That milky green color is caused by glacial silt that's suspended in the water. What happens is when a glacier grinds against the rocks, it produces a very fine powder, also referred to as rock flour, and that's what gives it its milky green color. Now that water is always very cold when it passes through Jasper, no matter what time of the year, because 10 hours ago, it was still ice back at the Columbia ice fields. To the right of it, in the town of Jasper, you'll see these three emerald green colored lakes. The first lake is Lac Vauvert, which means pretty green lake. It actually has Jasper Park Lodge on it. You'll see some of the buildings on the far shore, and to the far right, that green grassy area, it's its world famous golf course. The next large lake is Lake Annette. There's a public beach on its far shore, and the third large lake is Lake Edith. There's private cottages around it. All three of those lakes are accessible by road, and they do have hiking trails around them. So we are soon going to come up to and pass above the tree line. Now the tree line on this mountain and in this area is at about 2,100 meters, and about a third of Jasper National Park is actually above the tree line. You'll notice that the last few trees are quite small, quite sparse. The average growing season up here is about 60 to 90 days. The little trees grow about 1 millimeter per year. Those little trees are over 200 years old. And we've been saying that for 60 years, so folks are over 250 years old.
Wow.
So above the tree line, we are in an alpine tundra, similar to what you see in the north of the Arctic. We have mosses, we have wildflowers. We also have lichen. Lichen is all this black and green, sometimes orange and algae that's attached itself, orange and yellow algae that's attached itself to the rocks. Now lichen is very important up here because it's one of the main food sources for all the little animals that live up here. So folks, do remember you are in a national park. It is illegal to remove any of the natural features up here or anywhere in the park. As they say, take only photographs, leave only footprints. And please don't feed the animals, folks. Our diet is not their diet and usually ends up in their demise. So we are slowing to come into our upper terminal. In the upper terminal itself, there are washrooms and a gift shop on the main floor. Now the second floor has our restaurant. It has a nice little menu. It has some beers and wines, and it has some craft beers, some crafted right in Jasper itself. Now there are decks on both sides of the terminal here. There are placards on the decks that will explain a little bit more about the area. And there's also a boardwalk that takes you around the back of the building. Now, if you are so inclined, you can go off that boardwalk, folks. Now, when you do so, you're off our property, off our leasehold. We have no jurisdiction back there. You're back completely in Parks Canada land. So your safety and your security is your responsibility and the responsibility of Parks Canada. Again, we have no authority back there, so do be careful. In other words, walking back on the trails back there is like walking on any other trail in the park. Just be careful. Now, if you do go back on the trails, folks, do keep to the trails, not only for the safety of the environment, but for your safety. This shale and rock you're walking on is very loose, very sharp, it's also very slippery. It's easy to fall and hurt yourself, so just be careful back there. If you do go back on the trails, folks, have a little bit of water with you. It's easy to get altitude sickness or dehydration up here. It won't want that to happen to you, folks. It's not fun for you, it's not fun for us, so just be aware of that. And when you are ready to come down, you can't quite see because it is getting busy now. People are coming down. There is a podium right in the center of the upper terminal here. Just go talk to the girls there. They'll arrange that flight to come back down. We do recommend being there about 8 or 10 minutes before your flight. If you miss your flight, especially on a busy day like